Again, my name is Drew. Good to have you here as a new volunteer. This is my friend Mark, who's one of our guests here at the Mustard Seed, both at the shelter and here at the support center. I've known Mark for a couple years now.
Yes.
And we're here to talk to you about the boundaries that we have. So before I get to the boundaries, at one point during the orientation on the system, you're going to go to the policies and procedures section, and you're going to basically agree with the different policies and procedures that we have, and actually make up our volunteer agreement. So this is our legal document that as a new volunteer, this helps with the liability and it helps with our insurance coverage for you. So we invite you to, agree to these things as they're listed on the system. And one of the key components of this is actually our boundaries agreement. Not only does this help us enforce sort of our institutional law or things that are going to help you as a volunteer, keep you in your lane, but it's primarily for your safety. So the first boundary we have is that we ask that you would refrain from meeting any of our clients off-site.
What? Really, Drew? Because there was one volunteer that I was kind of enamored with, and I was thinking about asking her out on a date. Is that off limits or what?
Yeah, unfortunately, Mark, it's off limits. When the volunteers come to volunteer here on site, they become part of our institution. It's important that we create a culture of meeting and helping each other on site here. As a volunteer, they're involved in some of our best practices and they get to know you on a different level, and it might be inappropriate for you guys to carry that type of relationship off-site.
So there's no fraternization with the guests?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, that's life. Okay.
One of our other rules is that we would ask that you would not drive a guest anywhere off-site or even on-site in your own vehicle. This one can be a little bit hard to follow through with when it's really cold outside and you might meet with a client that might need a ride to the shelter or to the doctor's clinic. We have staff and volunteers on site who are trained to do that, and they're on our insurance so that they can take a Mustard Seed vehicle and offer that service in a more legitimate way, not just like on a whim where it could be dangerous for yourself or the client.
So then you driving me to Big Valley Jamboree is like kind of out of the question now. I'm going to have to figure out another way.
Well, we could either give you a bus ticket to do that, Mark,
yeah,
or I can coordinate it with the advocates and I could potentially drive you if we had it registered through a program, or I could get a volunteer to do that for you. We currently have 4 volunteers who are registered to do something like that.
Okay, very
So it's
good.
very doable.
Okay, thanks.
Another one is that we ask that our volunteers wouldn't engage in an inappropriate dating or sexual relationship with the clients. There are all sorts of people who come walking through our doors, experiencing hardship, experiencing different things in their life, and it would not be uncommon for people to find attraction in each other while they're here, as a volunteer, as a guest, potentially as a staff, but ultimately that's a boundary that we need to uphold, that we will not engage in inappropriate relationships with our clients. There's a lot that happens here that's quite professional and is suited to help the client move forward in their well-being, and so potentially a relationship could be a sexual or dating relationship could really hinder that forward-moving opportunity for the client.
I wouldn't challenge that. I have heard of a different organization where there's been a couple instances of that happening, but I think it's pretty understandable.
Totally.
There's
And I think we're good on that one, hey Mark?
There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Yeah. Another one is that we ask that you don't give any personal information away to the clients. Everything we do here, as per the volunteer agreement, is confidentiality. Information that's shared is kept within the organization in every form, verbal, paper, electronic, whatever. Just for your own well-being, for your own safety, for your own ability to have a life outside the Mustard Seed, personal information should stay with yourself. So we always encourage our new volunteers to share your name with the clients. You don't necessarily have to give away your last name. If things like social media are accessible to our clients so they could find you there, and those relationships could move to those areas, which for you that might be inappropriate. So if you don't want that to happen, just share your first name, that's fine. Things like phone numbers and emails, the clients will reach out to you if you give them those things. So we ask that you don't do that, just to keep yourself in a nice boundary, a safe place where you're comfortable. You don't have to get into some of the maybe more deeper issues as they would maybe share some of those deeper issues with you through phone or email.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do about my passport, because I was thinking about one volunteer who might be able to be used as a reference, and the passport application
Fair enough.
has a section where all that personal information would have to be written down.
Yeah. So what we can do for that one, if they're willing, we can get a written reference for them. We can also coordinate it so that the reference can happen through the Mustard Seed phone or through the staff. but have the volunteer answer or put that into motion so that they can be there on site or take the phone call, and we can do that through the must-see pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah. Or we could find another reference altogether if that timing just doesn't work out. There's lots of people that could help you with that here on site.
Okay, thanks.
One of our last boundaries that we have for you that we'd ask for you to abide by is to not give any money away to our clients. Basically, in the event a client needs money, we have other resources available for them that would help them move forward, and money on its own can sometimes be a trigger or can lead to spending in ways that weren't necessarily suitable for them in that moment. So, if a guest needs transportation, instead of giving them, $3 for a bus ticket, we can actually give them a bus ticket. That's just one example. We want to encourage our clients to, pick up, be there for themselves, to work for themselves, and to rise to the challenge that we all have to every day, and to find a way to manage their own resources. So sometimes the helping hand isn't as beneficial to them as you'd hope it to be, and money can be a bit of a slippery slope with our guests at times.
Okay, because that sets me back a little bit. Because I was thinking, if you could just spot me that last $100, there's a white Les Paul hanging up at Long and McQuaid for $500. It is so sweet. Drew, you would appreciate this.
Shoot, I would appreciate that, man. And all you need is $100, hey?
That's it, man. That's
Well,
just how to put me right over the top. I have it by this weekend.
How's the day job coming along? Is that thing happening yet?
It's touch and go.
Okay, well, Mark, I just can't give you the money, man. It's like, even if I had it, I just wouldn't be able to give it to you.
Well, I figure if I busk for another couple weeks, I could probably make that up.
Yeah, right
Cover
on.
that distance, but it's not a big disappointment. I understand, Drew.
All right, man. I hope you understand. Sorry about that.
No problem.
The last thing that we do here is we have a bit of a formal 3 strikes style rule with the volunteer program. It's very rare that we ask a volunteer to discontinue with us, but in the event that we need to talk to you about some sort of boundary being misstepped, or some sort of client interaction comes to our knowledge, we would simply sit you down and have that conversation with you. Hey, you overstepped this boundary. These were the repercussions for the client and for the organization. And we could just talk through that and coach you through those situations as they arise. One of my biggest tips for enforcing boundaries with our guests is to simply be kind yet assertive. You know what the boundary is if they ask or they challenge it. Just simply say, I am unable to do that. In the event that there's a complicated situation, staff can usually help out almost every time. So if a guest is coming to you with some sort of concern, you're not really able to handle it, and it's going to breach a boundary, immediately go to the staff. Get them involved, and they'll work out the situation, or simply decline if it's necessary. Thanks again for helping out, Mark.
You're welcome, Drew. Now that I have more information, I can stay within the boundaries. I appreciate
Fantastic.
that.
All right, man.